You ever see a courtroom so polished it makes you feel like justice actually means something, like it could maybe be real just for a minute? That was the Millbrook County Courthouse. White columns, marble steps, gleaming in the Alabama sun, radiating fairness the way a preacher radiates holiness right before the Sunday offering plate comes around you. That happened. Blood trickled from my lip as Judge Robert Whitfield smirked, leaning back in his chair like the king of some ancient, ugly kingdom. "Clear my courtroom of this distraction," he said, waving at the deputies as if I was just another speck on his designer suit. "Let me back up a sec. My name's Amara Cole, and when I pressed record on my phone and whispered, 'Operation Clean Court starts now,' I knew this wasn't just about metas, it was about blowing the lid off something so rotten it would make the whole town choke. You want to know what justice looks like in a place like Millbrook? Take a seat. Let me show you how the game is played." See, from the outside, Millbrook looked like a Norman Rockwell painting white picket fences, kids riding bikes, everyone waving hello. But inside that courthouse, for as long as anyone could remember, there were two sets of rules. One for folks who looked like Judge Whitfield, and another for people who looked like me or my daddy or half this town. At 34, I'd clawed my way up to the Justice Department Civil Rights Division, one of the youngest lead investigators they'd ever had. They call me unshakable, methodical, cool under pressure, didn't take the bait. But that was before I set foot on those marble steps, before I saw the numbers up close, before it got personal. It started with a whisper a tip from D.C., buried in a sea of anonymous complaints no one ever seems to read. Judge Robert Whitfield, silver hair, Georgetown law degree, big on family values and community standards. Except those standards change depending on the color of your skin. White college kid caught with cocaine. Probation, community service, slap on the wrist. Black guy with a little weed? 6 years, no parole, good luck. White businessman caught committing tax fraud. Go home, pay a fine, don't let it happen again. Black woman made a mistake on a welfare application. County jail, no second chances. You know what I mean? It's not justice. It's a conveyor belt, and Judge Whitfield was the one greasing the wheels. I took my seat in the back, notebook open, documenting every move he made. After a while, he started to notice meth, only black woman in a navy suit, pen never stopping. By mid-morning, he'd had enough. Sent one of his officers over, hand on his holster like he was expecting trouble. "What's your business here?" he asked. "Just observing for a legal education program," I said, all polite smiles, knowing the element of surprise was my only card. He didn't like it, but he let it go for the moment. Still, the air in that courtroom thickened, everyone waiting for me to step out of line. It didn't take long. After lunch, Judge Whitfield cut through the docket with surgical precision, then pointed his gavel right at me. "You approach the bench." His accent thickened, irritation barely contained. "Where'd you get your law degree? If you have one." You could feel the room waiting for the punchline. "Howard University, class of 2013. His lips curled, eyes flashing. "Ah, one of those affirmative action schools. I suppose they had to meet their quota somehow." The gasps echoed off the marble. My face was stone, but my heart was pounding. "My credentials are in order, Your Honor." Didn't matter. He banged his gavel like it was an execution. "Remove this woman. Confiscate her notes." As the deputies escorted me out, whispers followed like snakes in the grass. I kept my chin up, walked outside into the humid Alabama air, and reminded myself this wasn't the first racist judge I'd faced. But this was different. 20 years ago, in this very county, Whitfield sentenced my father to 15 years for a robbery he didn't commit. Dad died in prison, untreated pneumonia, when I was 14. I never told my supervisors, never let it color my file, but this was homecoming, revenge, and redemption all wrapped together. Back at the Oakwood Motel, my team was waiting. Darius, our data genius MIT whiz, built like a linebacker, and Kesha, undercover specialist, tough as steel. "How's the honorable judge?" Darius asked. "Every bit the racist we expected," I replied, dropping my recorder on the table. We've been tracking Whitfield for months, but now I had his voice on tape. Not just numbers, real, undeniable hate. Our evidence board looked like a spider's web. Photos, case files, timelines, money trails. Darius found the numbers were even worse than we'd thought. Black defendants, on average, got sentences 42% longer than white ones for the same charges, across every crime. Not subtle, not even trying to hide it. Kesha was already out in the community, undercover, gathering stories. Each one was more heartbreaking than the last. A teenager, 8 years for a tiny bit of marijuana, while the mayor's son got a pat on the back for actual cocaine distribution. A teacher lost her job over a decades-old shoplifting charge, denied expungement, while a white lawyer walked after a DUI. Again and again, the same pattern. Not above this was the system working exactly as designed. Then the threats started. Sheriff Calloway, 6 feet of southern bluster and a badge, cornered me at the clerk's office. Judge Whitfield has concerns about identity theft and unauthorized access. Need to see your notes, he said. I called his bluff, reminded him I was within my rights, suggested harassment wouldn't look good on a federal report. He darkened. Millbrook has ways of dealing with troublemakers. That night, someone followed me from the courthouse to a diner, back to the hotel. Then a bottle of wine and a note appeared. Leave Millbrook now if you want to stay healthy. But the first twist came from an unexpected ally. Maya Jenkins, a nervous young court clerk, slipped me a note. Some records aren't in public files. Sealed cases, private meetings, things that happen after hours. She wanted to help, but she was scared, and for good reason. Later, her friend Bethany got arrested on bogus theft charges, another innocent caught in the crossfire. Things escalated quick. Surveillance revealed Whitfield wasn't just stacking sentence, she was taking bribes. Darius traced offshore deposits from local businessmen right around the time their cases got dismissed. Real estate scams, tax fraud, always benefiting the powerful. Kesha discovered their coded language, neighborhood preservation initiative, just another way of saying they kept black residents locked in certain neighborhoods, targeting anyone who stood in the way of development projects. All of it orchestrated. The police arrested, prosecutors overcharged, Whitfield handed down the sentences. And every dime flowed upward. But when we moved to act, the machine struck back. The local paper ran a hit piece. Outside agitator disrupts local courts. Whitfield's brother-in-law, Senator Preston, sat on the oversight committee in D.C., tried to shut us down for overreach. Witnesses backed out. Families got threatened. Businesses vandalized. Our investigation was temporarily suspended. Everyone knew what that really meant. The walls closed in. But justice doesn't quit that easy. With time running out, Maya tipped us off to an emergency meeting at Judge Whitfield's hunting lodge, a fortress in the woods where Millbrook's most powerful gathered. Kesha infiltrated the cleaning crew, planting audio devices. That night, we listened as Whitfield, the mayor, sheriff, and developers outlined their whole racket: how to drive out black homeowners, launder bribes, bury evidence, crush dissent. Maintain the proper demographic balance, he said, like he was reciting scripture. With everything on tape, we were ready to blow the roof off. But Whitfield moved first. I got arrested on a fake traffic violation, my phone and ID confiscated, held in a cell with no charges. The system I trusted all my life, the one I believed I could fix, tried to swallow me whole. 2 guards came for a random inspection. I fought back, but they wrote me up for assault. It was a message: you're alone. No one's coming. But help came anyway from inside. Tanya, a sympathetic guard, risked her job to give me a phone. I called my team. That call set off a chain reaction. Director Victoria Chun at the Justice Department, a real one, brought in the FBI, leaked the evidence to the media. Within 48 hours, the story exploded. Protests filled the courthouse steps. Suddenly, the folks in D.C., who'd been dodging our calls, wanted to look like heroes. We moved fast. Whitfield tried to flee on his private plane, got nabbed at the runway. Face splashed across the front page. His whole network crumbled. The sheriff, DA, commissioners, even federal agents caught taking bribes. But the danger wasn't over. Threats came in, a hit placed on me by Whitfield's allies. An ambush left my security team bloodied. The rot went deeper than anyone realized. Even the FBI wasn't safe. Despite everything, we brought the case to the grand jury. I testified for hours, connecting the dots: statistical bias, bribery, abuse of power, my father's wrongful conviction, the stolen land. For once, the pain became power. When I finished, the room was silent. Some jurors wept. In the end, the indictments came down like thunder: racketeering, civil rights violations, obstruction of justice, conspiracy to commit murder. Whitfield barricaded himself in his chambers, tried to spark an armed standoff, playing the martyr. We outmaneuvered him, offered a joint federal-state surrender with the cameras rolling. He walked out in handcuffs, his legacy ruined, his power gone. That image, him, head bowed, led away under the glare of national scrutiny, still gives me chills. And it didn't end there. His wife, Catherine, vanished after tipping us to a tampered insulin vial, maybe an attempted suicide, maybe someone trying to silence him for good. Investigations uncovered a network spanning 3 counties, hundreds of lives destroyed by greed and hate. My father's name was cleared posthumously, 20 years too late, his stolen property compensated. But you can't put a price on a lost childhood, on justice denied for a generation. Millbrook changed. Federal oversight came in, old cases got reopened, wrongful convictions overturned, the courthouse turned into a museum of what not to do. New laws passed: mandatory transparency, new checks and balances, systems to report misconduct. I was asked to lead a national task force, turning personal tragedy into institutional change. On the day of Whitfield's sentencing, I stood in front of a new judge, a new court, and spoke for every person he'd hurt. I asked for 25 years, the average extra time he gave to black defendants. He showed no remorse, claimed he'd served his community. But justice doesn't care about your feelings. The judge gave him the max no parole, all assets seized. As he was led away, I didn't feel triumph, just a quiet sense that the scales had finally tipped. Now, when I teach young prosecutors, I remind them, justice isn't automatic. It needs guardians, needs voices willing to risk everything. The most important thing I learned? One person's courage can break the wall of silence. The real win wasn't Whitfield and Gillette, was the hundreds of lives set free, the reforms, the hope returned to people who'd lost faith. If you've ever seen injustice and wondered if it's worth speaking up, let this be your sign. The scales don't balance themselves. What would you do if it was your community, your family? Do you believe our courts are truly colorblind, or does justice still wear a mask? Drop a comment below, share your story. Let's keep the conversation alive. And if you believe in fighting for something better, hit that like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs hope. Because the fight isn't over. And you never know that the next Amara Cole could be sitting right beside you, just waiting for the chance to tip the scales.